Hello friends, I am Sanyukta and today we are going to be learning another new Zentangle original pattern, and the name of the pattern is Indy rella. Yes, the pattern involves simple line work and it is a very good example of how auraing works in Zentangle. That is, simple auras and line work create such beautiful patterns in Zentangle, right? So you can see here what I have done is started with a dot and then added some lines, increasing in size gradually with a slight curve, and then have come about half and then started to reduce the length of the line or the curved line, and then reduced it and then gradually reduced it to dot again. This is the pattern Indy rella. Yeah, couple of things that we can remember here is no two lines are touching each other. You can add some weight at the beginning and at the end of the line, right? And about halfway through, once you have reached, you can maneuver the side by changing the direction of the remaining half of the lines that you draw, right? So if you want to give a turn, so after you have reached the half mark, you can either take it up or take it down, right? So accordingly the shape of the Indy rella changes, right? So 4-5 lines, and then again if you want to keep it straight, then straight. So does it mean this is the standard shape for Indy rella? No. For example, if this is the space that you have filled up, you can draw Indy rella in any which manner that you want, right? There is no standard shape for Indy rella. The only point being the lines have to be closely auraing each other and they never touch each other, right? So here I have used Indy rella to fill up the space, and I am varying the size, length of the lines as per my requirement, right? In this way, right? Depending on the space that I need to fill up, I can maneuver the shape, I can change the shape, I can maneuver the lines as per requirement. So this is how I choose to fill up this space. Just to give you an example how you can arrange this pattern in different ways to get different looks. For example, in this one I have arranged in a flower kind of a shape. This is again a floral kind of a shape. This again leaves, Indy rella in the form of leaves, again Indy rella looking like fishes, right? And these four are showing 4 different variations for the same pattern. This is plain Indy rella. In this one I have added some weight at the beginning and at the end of the line, right? Something like this. You can put some pressure on the pen, or if you are not comfortable doing that, you can first draw your Indy rella and then just add some weight to the end of the lines, right? In this one I have added some weight at the center of the lines, of the curved lines, right? First you draw your plain Indy rella and then add some weight at the center, right? Something like this. So this is how I have drawn this one. And the fourth one I have added a highlight in between. I have broken the line at almost the same place while drawing the curved lines, something like this. That's how you add a highlight, right? And the standard shading is generally you shade at the bottom, you add graphite at the bottom. If you wish, you can also add a highlight in the center, just the way I have done in this one, right? Generally this is the way you add some graphite at the bottom and then you smudge it, and a little highlight at the upper part or the top part of the Indy rella. So use your chalk pencil to add a highlight. In this one I have already added a highlight, so it won't show much. This one you can add a highlight using your chalk pencil and darken the lower part of the Indy rella, right? Here you can see it's crescent moon in the center, and in a spiral I have arranged the Indy rellas, right? So these are some of the ways you can draw the pattern. There are again any space that you create, you can fill it up with Indirella. There is no standard shape. You can change the shape depending on the space that you have to fill up, right? Indirella, the name again doesn't bear any relation to the way it looks. Indy is basically granddaughter of Maria, and Rella, because she was a Cinderella fan, so comes Rella, right? So the pattern doesn't really bear any relation with its name or how it looks. So let us start with our tile. In front of me is a normal 3.5-inch tile, and I have drawn a string here, right? I'm going to be inking this string because I want it to show and be an integral part of my finished tile, right? So if you can see the string, it's a curved line, double line, right? And then again one more line cutting across like this, right? Again a double line, right? So this is the string that I'm going to be using. I'm going to start drawing Indirella right away in the center. This oval that I have created, I'm going to be drawing some Indirellas there like this, right? So starting with smaller lines, gradually increasing the size of the lines, and then again reducing it depending on what space you want to fill up, right? Again starting here, increasing the size of the lines, then again reducing it, right? Something like this. Again increasing. How big or how small you want to make it depends on how many lines you are drawing, right? You want to make them big, you can. This one you can see I have maneuvered the lines so as to adjust to the space that is there with me, right? Again starting here, changing the direction of the lines, right? Something like this. Again there is a small space here, so drawing a small one. I'm going to fill up this space, right? You can see here I have filled up the entire space with the pattern Indirella, right? So now what you can do is fill up the rest of the tile the way you wish. Pick up your favorite tangles and then start right away. I am going to be using crescent moon and a few more tangles to fill up the rest of the space, right? So using my 08 to fill up these spaces, the moons, right? You already know how to draw crescent moon. It was my first tutorial wherein I taught how to draw the pattern crescent moon. So I am inking these half moon shapes. Already inked all the sections, the half moons, and then I am going to add auras the way we add to crescent moon, right? But since the half moons are joined with each other, the auras will also be drawn in a similar fashion, right? So I'm going to be adding couple of auras here, probably 3 or 4 rounds of auras. Take your time, don't be in a hurry. Keep rotating your tile so that your hands are always comfortable. Again, a pattern which shows the importance of auraing, how aura adds value to pattern and what is the importance of oraing in Zentangle. Both these patterns are an excellent example, crescent moon as well as Indy rella, right? Simple line work, just curved lines. So I have added 4 layers of aura here, right? So you can add a few more, probably one more, and then we shift to another tangle for the rest of the tile, probably hollow bob. Right, now for the rest of the tile I think I'll go with hollow box, so just adding these random lines. You can see I have created a tangulation here, added one extra line under the second line, closely oraing the second line, right? I've also done away with my borders in this style. I didn't wish to, right? So now couple of lines cutting across. Tangle pattern hollow bob. Technique of drawing behind or the hollow bob effect comes from this tangle because we draw under or draw behind, right? We never cut the lines, we always draw under. So the word that we use, drawing behind, comes from this pattern, right? So you can keep adding as many you want, entirely up to you. There's so many ways you can draw hollow bob also. Thin lines, thick lines, more than 2 lines. Right. Right, so you can draw any number as you wish. So this is hollow bob, and then for the remaining half of the tile choose another pattern or use Indy rella in some other manner. I wish to keep Indy rella the center of focus, so I am not going to use Indy rella in the rest of the tile. Also use some other pattern, probably like Knight's Bridge. Right, so let's use the pattern Knight's Bridge here. So I'm going to draw these curved lines emanating from almost the same point, like this, right, and then draw the pattern Knight's Bridge in these lines. Add little weight to these dividing lines so that we know where the divides are. Adding again a little weight to these dividing lines, right? 2 more lines in between. I'm drawing the pattern Knight's Bridge, so I'm going to create some blocks and then color them alternatively, if you remember, right, so that there is one colored block at the corner of each block. again. Right, now I'm going to draw lines like this. Slight curve, not straight lines. Right, and then extend them to rest of the portion, just extending it. Like this, then extending to the third one. Like this, then to the fourth one. Right, just keep extending the lines, then to the fifth one, fifth section, creating the grid that is required to draw the pattern Knightsbridge. Right, and then the last one. There's one more here. So we have created the grid that is required to draw the pattern Knightsbridge. Right, now you know what is to be done. I am going to be coloring one section and show you. Just inking involved, alternate boxes, or you can say one colored box at each of the corners. Right, so I'm going to do this exercise in the entire area. I have finished inking my Knightsbridge here. Right, the blocks, the way they have to be inked, right, alternate blocks. And now let us straight away move to shading our tile. So the way we showed you, I showed you shade crescent moon at the intersections, like this, and then adding a thick layer of graphite in the inner semicircle, adding some graphite, not intending to shade these individual indirellas much, so adding a thin line of graphite inside, not emphasizing much, because I want to shade this area as a whole and not the individual indirellas. So adding some thick graphite at the blower end also, like this. Right, and then for the hollyhock, under the second line that I have drawn, you may fill up the empty spaces, right, since in the second part of the tile we already have lot of inking involved, so I choose not to fill up the spaces that are created between my hollowhocks. Right, you can do that. So adding some graphite under the lines, like this. Right, like this. and some graphite at the crossings. Right, some graphite at the crossings here, the intersections, right, need to be highlighted, the intersections. So some graphite at the intersections, right? And then we come to our knight's bridge. So wherever that thick line was there, I'm going to add some graphite on that dividing line, like this, right? Again here, again here. So since I had added two lines in between, I'm just counting the lines in between and then putting my graphite like this, and then on the edge, right? So now time to pick up the blending stump. So now I'm going to smudge this graphite, pull it towards the center, like this, right? And touch on the inside wherever I have put, just a touch, not wanting to blend too much, right, like this, and then smudging these, taking to the center but leaving a highlight in between, like this, right, leaving a highlight in between, like this, right? And then our hollybog shading under, right, like this. Smudging the graphite wherever I have put it. Like this. Again smudging at the intersections. Smudging under. Intersections wherever you have missed it. Right. Like this. Right, that's the hollybog. And then we finally come to shading our knight's bridge. Again smudging it, taking it almost to the center but not covering the center, like this. Make sure the ink has dried up, otherwise you may end up damaging your tile with this stump, since knight's bridge involves quite a bit of inking. right? Yeah. So I'm now going to pick up my white charcoal, add some highlight in the center here, right, and then highlight the center of this knight's bridge where I have not put any graphite. Right, so that they look all curled up. Like this. You can use another stump to take away the excess chalk, not the same stump. Right, a little highlight on the crescent moon also, although we have left a space white, but you can re-emphasize it by adding the white charcoal. Right, and probably a few caviars here and there, nothing but a circle or an orb, another orb, leaving a gap in between and coloring the rest. A very simple pattern, one orb, another orb, leaving a small gap in between and coloring the rest. Another orb, leaving a gap in between and coloring the rest. The pattern is called caviars. Not a Zentangle original, but a very simple pattern and comes across as a nice enhancer. Right, so a few caviars here and there adds to the look of the hollow block, where I have chosen not to color it because we have some inking involved in the other part of the tile, so there would be too much of inking, right? So we are done. I'm now going to initial my tile. So I have chosen to not to shade my individual indirellas, right? Highlighted this area. So I'm now going to initial my tile. Take a moment to appreciate your tile, right? And sign and date it always. You can also add in a comment, right? And we'll meet again with another Zentangle original pattern next time. Stay safe, take care.